This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. On every other network and every other station, you'll hear Scarlett Johansson's nitwittery and all of the other peahat prevaricators. Their voices will be amplified. And before there was the peahat, there was the penumbra. Today is the 45th anniversary of the worst Supreme Court decision since Dred Scott. Of course, Roe v. Wade. That's my opinion, and that opinion happens to be correct. So it has the utility of being correct. So here, we're going to make sure you hear from some of the participants in the March for Life whose voices weren't amplified by the D.C. press corps. Say, for example, the House Speaker, Paul Ryan.
I didn't. What march? Honestly, I've been glued to cable news all weekend and to local news. Did not see one clip or one mention of it anywhere.
Right. And it's because of the Alinsky tactic to make the majority feel like their opinions are those of the minority. In point of fact, what you hear from Paul Ryan is the majority position in America. Majority position. Marist poll, 56% of Americans believe abortion is morally wrong. 76% want substantial restrictions on abortion, and consistent with the science that we now no longer have to guess about. For example, the formation of a child at 20 weeks, thus all the bans after 20 weeks, and radically conservative countries like France. Paul Ryan on the power of the pro-life movement, it's compassion.
And one thing that gets sort of lost in this controversy is just how compassionate the pro-life movement really is. This is what is lost by all those detractors out there. I am so proud of the work that this movement has done to help women, especially women who have gone through the pain of abortion. This movement helps them find healing and acceptance. I'm so proud of this movement and how it supports single mothers who are struggling to raise their children, how it gives them the resources through thousands of phenomenal crisis pregnancy centers around the country. This is the face of the pro-life movement.
Yeah, abortion hurts women. Pro-life movement helps women. It's kind of a hospital for women who are in need, suffering, if you will, confused, metaphorically, of course. As Reagan said, the only people I've ever met who are for abortion are alive. It's interesting to note, isn't it?
Well, even at our church, Pastor Bonnie celebrated a 16-year-old girl who decided to have the baby. And she said nobody celebrated. She didn't know how to feel at the time because it wasn't, people encouraged her to get an abortion, and she kept the baby. And I thought, I wish Dan was with me. Now,
the flip side is the Illinois congressional delegation, a Republican delegation, chastised Governor Rauner for signing HB 40, the public financing of abortion all 9 months. The first governor in U.S. history to do that. Fringe candidate, that's the governor. Governor Rauner is the fringe candidate in Illinois. Something Pat Quinn wouldn't even do with supermajorities of Democrats. Didn't do. That's how extreme Governor Rauner is. It's an untenable position. It's a disqualifying position. It's a disqualifying act, I should say. And by the way, you want to understand how policy has consequences?
Yeah.
Planned Parenthood is opening a clinic in Flossmoor and 4 other clinics around the state of Illinois.
It's because of all the money they've got from fundraisers.
No. It's a direct result of HB 40.
It is?
Direct result of HB 40. Nationally, abortion clinics are being reduced in number. Mm-hmm. Illinois, they're increasing. Near the Indiana border, right?
Right.
Bring people in from Indiana. Also, heavy minority communities.
Right.
The racism that underlies, the eugenicists who support abortion on demand. 5 more clinics, including in Flossmoor, as a result of Rauner's decision. So even if you are not unconcerned about the underlying life and death issue, which you should not be unconcerned, how about the financial issue of another open-ended entitlement in a state with $10 billion in unpaid bills? For more on this topic and others inside the Beltway, we're pleased to be joined by Congressman Peter Roskam. Peter, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, good to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So were you at the March for Life?
I was at the March for Life, and then your discussion prompted a memory for me of a March for Life that I'd like to just share with you quickly. A few years ago, I was at the one downtown Chicago, and I was one of the speakers, and I got there a little bit early before their marchers got there. And I was looking, and I wasn't quite sure I was at the right place. And I looked over, and there were some really angry abortion protesters, on the other side, and they were angry. And they were scattered, and it was quite pathetic, actually, to look at them. And then came the pro-life marchers, sort of around the corner and down the street. And they were buoyant, they were joyful, they were young, the music was great, they were dancing, they had yellow balloons and flags, and the contrast just took my breath away. And I thought, there is no bigger picture in terms of distinction about what it is that this movement is all about than those who are standing for those who have no voice. And it was an image that really had a profound impact on me. And I think that we need to remember the power of that, the power of truth, and the power of speaking out, and the power of clarity. And my predecessor, Henry Hyde, was the great hero of the pro-life movement, and just an image that is with me to this day.
Well, that's a real life and death issue. An issue that's being portrayed as life and death is the government shutdown, in quotation marks. And I wonder, Peter, if you are concerned, as per discussion on CNN.
About the Panda Cam?
No, that's a concern. There's no question. But this is even more existential, the threat. That because of the shutdown, NASA may stop monitoring potentially dangerous asteroids. We may have an undetected asteroid attack destroy the planet if the Senate doesn't, vote to bring this to an end at noon today. You feel the sense of urgency?
I think that the reason you want the government open is, number one, they're there to do a job. Number two, they're likely to get paid anyways. And so the notion of giving people furloughs and then giving them back pay doesn't make any sense to me at all. But that said, I think the Democrats have really gotten themselves stuck. And they decided, from a political point of view, hey, we want to shut this down. We want to create an impression that we don't have any influence and this is all on the GOP. And I think Chuck Schumer has really led them into a cul-de-sac. They want to create this linkage on immigration. We're saying, look, we're not going to negotiate on immigration while the government is shut down. You want to have a discussion about immigration in the regular course of things? Fine. But the immigration deadline for DACA, it's not today. It's not this month. It's not next month. It happens in March. There's still plenty of time to deal with it.
How are Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell getting along these days?
As far as I know, they're getting along fine. The people to watch are, the people to watch, I think, are Senate Democrats who are in states that Trump won. So people like Joe Donnelly from Indiana, or people like Heidi Heitkamp from North Dakota. These are people who have voted to keep the government open in the Senate, and I think they're going to be under increasing pressure to influence their leadership, because their leadership cannot really articulate beyond this immigration issue. They can't articulate why they want to shut the government down. So I think Schumer is getting more and more isolated procedurally, and we'll see what the day brings.
This story out over the weekend about the FBI failing to preserve 5 months' worth of text messages exchanged between those lovebirds, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, these particularly Strzok, senior-level FBI official involved in both the Clinton and the Trump-Russian collusion investigation, sort of conflicted, one would argue. Now, is Platte River Networks the vendor to the FBI the way it was the Hillary Clinton campaign? Or how do we explain, I know it's been explained as a technical glitch, but are we to buy that text messages from those two individuals, given how central they are to our entire assessment of the fairness of the FBI's look into the Trump campaign and the Trump administration. How are we to understand this?
Look, you're to understand it as echoes from the IRS, echoes from the Benghazi investigation. And the burden is on the entity that can't hold on to or is charged with having the evidence, charged with the records, and it's their burden to say why is it that they've left. Look, it's highly suspicious, it's highly suspect, and this continues to undermine the nature and the integrity of some of these investigations.
Yeah, but do you think the FBI will be held accountable? I mean, how can the FBI lose data like this for a 5-month period? It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, so the accountability comes in a couple of forms. The accountability comes in terms of public reputation, which is diminishing, and the accountability comes in individuals who end up moving on and moving out. And then the accountability comes in what is it that the FBI actually presents to the American people as it relates to their findings in their investigation.
And could the accountability also come in the release of this 4-page memo that's being bandied about on the Hill, and people are talking about and making some pretty aggressive predictions about the potential impact of this memo were the public to see it?
I think that the memo, I've reviewed the memo. I signed all kinds of things before I reviewed the memo in terms of non-disclosure.
All right, so tell us what's in it.
I can't talk about the memo per se, but I am of the strong opinion that the memo should be released.
Okay.
Well, what's in it? Do you know? Have you? I mean,
I know you can't.
Peter.
I know you can't disclose it, so just tell us what's in it.
Yeah, you're killing me.
No, wait.
So does that mean no?
The memo should be released.
The
memo should be released.
Can you characterize it generally, as some other members of Congress have? Is it as explosive as some of your colleagues have described?
Look, no, I wouldn't. I think that there's I've been around. We've seen these types of things where an expectation that gets created that's just through the roof. I wouldn't do that. I would just say, look, the memo speaks for itself. The memo needs to be released, and it puts some of this larger debate into a context that is helpful and insightful. That's why I think it should be released.
Do you think maybe House Republicans can use the same Columbia professor cutout that Comey used to release the stuff he wanted to get out there?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, look, my view is if make sure, triple check it to make sure that no sources are revealed, no methods are revealed. The things that the conclusions that are easy to come to after reading this memo should be part of the public discussion. No question about it.
All right. He is Congressman
Ultimate
Peter
tease.
Roskam. Yeah, well, he wants to stay on the side of the bars. That's understandable. Congressman Peter Roskam, representative from Illinois 6th out there in the Western Burbs. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.